What's up? You're,
Uh-oh.
this.
That's not me.
If it is.
Still not me. Still doing it. Hurt my
What
ears.
is happening here?
I don't know, folks will figure it out. Did that work? Can everybody still hear us?
Think that should work. I don't know why there's so many. That still has echo. What is happening?
Can't hear it.
That's turned down over there all the way. That's muted. The mic is plugged in here. We shouldn't. Oh, I think it went away.
Yeah, I think you're good.
I think we're good.
Maisha says it's good. Thank you,
All right.
Maisha.
Thank you, Maisha. Listen, just trying to keep it real. It's that's what we're doing here. So this is I was thinking about this is kind of like it's like a faculty meeting that people want to come to. You know, like I can't remember ever having a faculty meeting ever. I don't think I was ever excited for a faculty meeting. Maybe if they were talking about we were getting Christmas bonuses, but that was it, and that only happened like one time in my whole life. So, and then the next 3 years we didn't even get a raise. That's a whole nother story. Anyway, I am thrilled that you are here. This is like, look, weekly you are pouring into yourself, right? Whether you are getting your question answered or you're on your way to school and it's Monday morning and you're listening to this, it is pouring into yourself, which is it is the single best thing you can do for you, for your students, for your family, is you getting better. Things in the world don't always get better. School doesn't always get better. Your students don't start acting better. If you're hoping your wife would just kind of like get it together, that doesn't always happen, like, right? Or your husband. Just saying, girl. But the idea that you can continuously evolve and get better helps you handle all things in the world. And so, yes. So we are here as a group to help one another out. You can drop a question in the question section or just put Q or question before it so we know that it's a question. And that's it. With that, we'll jump into your stuff. I know Gion's had a question on here for a hot minute. You ready?
Yeah.
All right. Hey, you're back on this week too.
I am. I'm still a little hoarse, and I'm going to try not to cough into the mic a million times.
Or nay.
What?
That was dumb.
Okay.
Never mind. Just keep
Didn't
going.
even get it.
No.
Okay.
Glad.
We'll start off with Gian is up first, asking, how do you foster intrinsic motivation for those students who have little to no expectations for success in the classroom and don't see a point to coming into school at all? He teaches 8th grade.
So there's a lot I could say about this question. I will try and do so in very short order.
Oh.
I
don't like that camera quality, but
I know.
okay.
We got to do something about this situation.
We're working on it.
I think that I want that intrinsic motivation, but I'll settle for extrinsic motivation as well, because we all do things because we're going to get a result from them. Like I don't know that. I wonder, right? Here's a question. Would people go to the gym if it just made them feel the way it makes you feel, but you didn't get to look the way that you want to look? I don't know. I think part of it is like you like people to tell you that, hey, you've been working out. Like, hey, you've lost weight. Hey, you look really great. I think there's some of it like you looking at yourself in the mirror. I went into the gym last night. Went to the locker room to get our jackets. And these two young guys were in there with like their shirts pulled up, and I caught them like taking pictures of them. There's this one mirror at Planet Fitness that everyone does it at, or like when people do it, that's where they do it. And you would have thought I like caught them doing something they weren't supposed to. I was like, dude, it's all right. It's weird. Well, I'm going to leave now anyway. So I think there's that extrinsic motivation. So I want to start, like, we'll start there. I think tying parents in is one of the best things you can do, parents or guardians, even if those parents or guardians aren't necessarily an active participant in their students' like learning process, right? Like there are some, I've literally called home more than once and have been told the same thing by a parent, which is this: I deal with them all night. You can deal with them during the day. Oh, wait, what? Huh? What? Like, all right, okay. But some parents have so much going on that they can't, like, if you're a single mom and you're working 2 jobs and you got 4 kids and like, I can't blame you. That's a lot, right? Shoot, if I'm home alone with 2 of my kids and they're teenagers and the dog, I'm just like, sometimes I'm like, this is too much for one man to handle. That being said, I think weekly trackers work well. I think calling home, I think sometimes daily trackers work well, where like a kid has to bring a tracker from class to class to class. It is holding up a mirror so that that student is not living under the illusion that they're doing all right, that this is good enough, that what they're doing, that they have to try harder, that they missed an assignment, that they missed a homework assignment, that what was their behavior like today? What was their participation level in today? It's communicating that not only with parents and guardians, but with the student as well. The other thing is sending, so when that tracker doesn't come back on Monday, because you send it home on Fridays, or if it's at the end of a day, you send it home every day. Otherwise, they send them home on Friday. They are supposed to come back on Monday if the student is failing. And then that is sometimes what kids need. They need to be like, we need to all be held accountable, right? This is why we join certain things, why we have mentoring programs and coaching programs, and we have coaches, and we have, you know, deep connections with friends in our lives or with our church, is because we need folks to sometimes help keep us accountable in certain seasons because we can't do it ourselves. So that might be what a student needs. With regards to intrinsic motivation, I think it gets deeper, and I think it's a slightly more time consuming, but it is absolutely worth it. And I've talked about this before, but it bears repeating. Students are most young people, I think, innately just think about themselves, right? We have not gotten to the place yet where we are like truly thinking of others. If that's the case, and that's a broad generalization, I understand, but if that is the case, which there is research to back that up, how do we get kids to think about their actions in school right now and how they're so disempowered or disillusioned a lot of times because they don't think their actions have any power. And sometimes we are not enough to motivate ourselves, right? Like, so, but if somebody else is your motivation, sometimes that helps you to push forward, to do more. So there's a guy I listen to, Ed Milet, has a great podcast. If y'all don't listen to it, it's definitely worth checking out. Ed Milet was told that when he was younger, I think he was like smoking and drinking. He didn't work out as much and ate really unhealthily. Went to the doctor for just a checkup. And the doctor said, let me ask you something. How old's your daughter? And he said how old she was. He said, do you want to walk her down the aisle on her wedding day? And he was like, what? He goes, do you want to do it? Or do you want some other man to do it? And he said, excuse me? He said, what are you even talking about? He goes, if you keep living the way you're living, you're not walking your daughter down the aisle. And so the story is a bit longer than that. But he said, in that moment, I realized that that's what I wanted. So when I know that I have to go to the gym and I don't feel like it, I want to walk Bella down the aisle. When I am like, when I look at the thing I really, really, really want to eat, or I want to smoke, I think, no, I want to walk Bella down the aisle. So what I do is have conversations with students around the idea that their success means more than just them having like a nice house or whatever shoes they want, or a nice car, or some like something like that. It's like not enough for these students. So what I try to do is connect it to, do you have a little brother or sister that is coming up in a way that you think you want better for them? Does your mom or grandmom, so when I have guys whose moms and grandmoms are raising them, they're working 2 jobs just to keep the lights on, keep food on the table, to that they are working so hard so you can do this. But then what are you doing? What your actions are doing right now is that they are showing that if you show up to school, that when everyone else graduates and you don't graduate, it's a wrap. Right? Like now you just have to live with your mom and work some crap job where you're not adding value to this family. You are being a withdrawal. You're being a drain. Is that what you want? Or do you want to put in work that if you play this game right, your mom could quit one of her jobs? Your mom maybe could retire early if you play your cards right. That your mom could move out of this neighborhood. And so it starts painting a picture of this idea that when our students tell you that they would die for their family, I would die for my family. And I always answer that with, but would you be willing to live for them? And when I can start shifting that mindset, now look, kids are going to have setbacks like everybody else, right? Just because you're stoked and you're ready to go to the gym and that you heard that, some motivational speech on YouTube and you're ready to dive in on January 1st. There's going to be times when you don't feel like it again, and you're going to need that teacher. They're going to need you to walk them through it again, to help them see it again. It's leaders are repeaters. It's helping the kids to see this over and over and over again. And this also shows kids that you're not willing to give up on them ever, ever, ever. The last thing I would say, Gian, is don't put more time into those students that are struggling like that than you do everyone else. You need to divide your attention up accordingly, because those students do have a tendency, or we have a tendency, to give them more attention, and then other kids are going without. So make sure that you're to the best of your ability divvying up your time accordingly.
Man, I love when you tell students that it's a game, right? Because it really is. Like, you have to go through the process. The game is already built of education, right? You have to do the homework. You have to participate in class. You have to do these things to get the grade. There's a formula, and it's very simple. The formula is not that complicated, but I think if it's explained in a way that, like, to some kids, it's like, no, I don't care what you do in life. You want to be a business owner. You want to, like, push carts at the grocery store, like the cart return. You want to just be a checkout person at a retail. There's still skills that you need, right?
Yeah.
You still need to have basic communication skills. Like, what if you were the best cart pusher and you needed a raise? Like, and you wanted to, like, make the argument for a race. Just
let's look
there's
at
a
that for
lot
a
of
second.
skills. So I think it's just reminding kids that, like,
who's the best cart pusher you ever saw in your life?
Oh, we know it. It's at the ShopRite in Gloucester City.
Yeah, Brooklawn, New Jersey.
Yep.
There's this young dude who was his outfit was together. My man wore sunglasses all night.
And we had gold like framed sunglasses.
And he would help people out. Let me unload that for you. Let me take your cart back for you. And I have often thought of that dude as, like, it's not a job of just doing anything. It is you're showing up and being the best. And there's joy in that. And so our students learning how to push through, because the bottom line is there anything wrong with being a cart pusher? No. The bottom line is that what you're built for? Like, what were you made for?
Yeah,
what
but
is
I'm not
your
even
place
arguing
to go
that
to?
point. Like, my point
But if you don't play the game, you can't get there.
Yeah, my point is that there are skills in schools when kids often see that there's no value in school, or like, why I even gotta come? Why do I have to do this? Like, right?
Yeah.
There's a value. I don't care what it is in life. You have to have a job on some level. I don't care if you're a hustler on the street, pushing carts, or just working a register of retail, or a business owner. You need skills to be able to do that job. And so the school teaches you a lot of those skills. So it's like,
take advantage,
unless you're just going to lay on your couch and play video games all day, and you got some rich person that's just going to bankroll you all day, like, there's value in school and playing the game, because you learn skills. Whether you think the content is important is irrelevant.
Yeah.
At least in my mind.
And the more skills, the better job you can have. The more choices you have, I'll say. And the more choices you have, I mean, that's always better, right? Like, so, yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
Go ahead, babe.
Okay. Sorry, I lost.
Sorry, I was really going in on that one today.
All right. Teaching with Mr. Hayes. Ahoy legends. I love it. 1 week till our summer break here in Australia. Next year, I'm keen to use a physical planner. Have you ever done this? Tips embracing that new year, new me mantra with organization.
So yes, I have used a physical planner. There's none that I would necessarily recommend, but because I do like writing stuff down. In the last 2 years, though, I'll say I have moved away from writing stuff down unless it's on Post-it notes, because I need it to be, I want everything to be here, everything. And so if I type it into my Google Calendar, then it's on my phone, then it's on my iPad, then it's on my laptop, it's all everywhere. Even when I take notes for books, I keep them in, I have a Google Drive document that I open for every single time I read a book, and I keep those notes in there mostly every time I read a book. Because I just found that like I want to be able to, then I can search them. I can like Control F and like search for certain terms or a word that I want or whatever, and it's so much easier to find. So, but I do think that one of the things, gosh, like here's one of the things I've learned in the last few years, especially with regards to entrepreneurship, but this applies to teachers as well, and just people in general. Folks that are successful at anything, they just put in more time than everyone else. Like sometimes you have a talent, you have a skill, you have a like you've been blessed with something, but by and large, it's the people that put in the most reps. How do you put in the most reps? By organizing your time. That anyone who's really successful at anything has become very, very good at ignoring distractions and being very intentional about their time and what they're doing. And when I find that I plan my time accordingly, which I ebb and flow with, sometimes I'm really, really good at it. Sometimes I'm not as good at it, but I find that my life is just better. I get more out of my day. I get more out of my life. I just am a better person. So yeah, so I love planning stuff. And yeah, but I use Google Calendars like my jam.
Interesting. I'm a writer. It doesn't stick unless I write it down. It doesn't stick nearly as well.
No. And well, studies would show that is the truth. Let me ask you this though.
It's keeping up with a planner that I think would be difficult with being a teacher. It's like you have to be really intentional about like going and actually using it consistently.
But one of the things I've learned to do, and I used to hate when people did this, when I'd set a meeting with them and they send me a calendar invite, and that used to annoy me for some reason. But now I do it for people all the time because people forget. And I don't want to have to follow up with you. I want to set it and forget it and not call you or text you or remind you that we're doing a thing. I like sending a calendar invite. We've even started doing this with the mentorship program. Like when people sign up for mentorship, I try to send you, it's only happened in the last couple of weeks too. So if you were in it before and I didn't do it, that's new. It is sending a calendar invite because it just reminds people that it exists. I'd say the thing with the paper though, is you then have half notebooks all over the place.
I do. Well, that's why I said you have to keep up with it, because that's not, I haven't found success in that part. But I think in picking a planner too, for me, it's real simplified. Like there's planners I had to buy one for Brody recently for when he started his new school. And they have so much extra stuff in there that's like wildly unnecessary. I'm like, yo, I need big squares to write things in, like as a calendar, and then just maybe some plain areas to write my own notes. So that's my tip, is like look for the most basic planner that you can, if that's how you operate. But
sure,
I like planners. I like writing, I should say. All right, are you ready for the next one?
Yes.
Jacob is up next asking, question, what is your process for improving courses when you teach it again, whether the next semester or year? I'm a 6th to 12th grade public speaking teacher looking to tweak for the second semester.
Dude, this is such a great question. I don't know that people do this enough. So first, here's one of the mistakes I made. When I first started teaching, on my paper lesson plans, I would write each day like a win or a loss. I have friends that call them like a rose and thorn, right? That what was something that worked, what was something that like I need to tweak for next time, even if I don't have that idea now, but I just know like this intro didn't work, this video wasn't as good, stuff like that. I then got away from that because it felt like it was another thing to do every day, and I felt like I didn't have the time, even though it's nonsense. So I would put it off, and then at the end of the year, I'd promise myself that I'd go back and write all these things. And even if I did, you can't remember. Think about how much there is to think about as an educator every day. I just couldn't remember all of that stuff. So what I find now is that what I started doing was voice notes. So I would record it, or now you can use oh gosh, what is the one that I started using that Darius put me on to? There's a text to speech app that is above all else. And I cannot remember what it is called right now, which I know is not useful to anyone. But it was, I don't know, whatever it is. It was using text to speech apps, or using my, so like just pulling up my notes section, right? And then using the voice aspect of it. So even if it's not 100%, I have to like figure a little bit of it out later, it at least keeps regular notes. So I know what has worked and what hasn't worked. Sometimes I think of this with regards to like in a month, I will do this. So then at least it's categorized. Then I take those, I just copy them, I paste them into a Google document. Again, so they are there, they're by date. So that's a good way. Another way that I've done it in the past too is I have Google Slides that I use for my class. I have a PowerPoint slide that's up on my board every single day. I've made tons of videos about this. And then each day has a set of slides. I started writing in the notes section under the slides what I liked or didn't like, what I could do next time, what I might be able to improve. So then it was all in one space. The other thing I like about this is it keeps my absolute flow for the year. So I have 180 days or whatever. I have slide decks built out that are the entire school year. And then each year I don't use the same one. I make a copy of it because I don't want to lose that original one. So now I can actually go back like 10 years and see how my lesson has changed, how it's evolved, the videos, the hooks, the music, the anticipatory set, the pre-class, the bell ringers, the exit tickets, all the stuff is on there. And so, which I've tried to share with folks, it does not make as much sense to other people because they don't know like what I'm doing with all this stuff. And I don't like have a thing to explain it because I know me. But that has been a way. What I would say, Jacob, is once you find something, stick with it for at least a season, right? And make yourself do it. That reflection piece is the best thing. I think you can't grow unless you know what you did. That was almost a bar. You can't grow unless you know what you did before. And then just noting it, even if it's, I need to find a better video for this, or kids kind of like crapped out about 2 minutes into this thing that we were doing, like it. And so looking for those different shifts and changes, because you'll swear you're going to remember it and you just don't. So that's a couple of the ways that I've done it to really try and remember, what I need to do next time. And I'll tell you what else has worked for me, and not that this is immediately applicable to anyone, but YouTube. I swear there have been times when I'm like, yo, what do we do? Like I'll be talking to Fines or something at school, and I'm like, who was one of my co-teachers? I'm like, Fines, how we do this last year? And I went back to videos and I'm like, oh snap, we did this. Like, let's do this again. And YouTube is a really great reminder for me of how I did stuff.
All right. Paris is up next, saying, feeling discouraged this year with lack of motivation from students. Many don't care about their grades and talk over each other during discussions. Unsure what to do other than to call home. Suggestions?
So don't underestimate that call home piece. I'm going to tell you right now, Paris, I have for years, because I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to burden parents. I thought it was embarrassing. There was a sense of shame sometimes that I would feel, or just like it was another thing to do. But as a parent, right, there are certain lessons I've learned as I've gone in life that I've learned because I've been on the other side of it. When my son is not doing well in school, and I just see the grades, but I don't know why. And no one's reaching out to me. So it's not about reaching out to parents to just tell them their kid's failing. It's looking for clues. It's looking for answers. It's looking for success. And so sending home, like I said before, trackers is a really great one. Keeping student trackers. I made a video this week and talked about aspects of a project that we publicly display as part of like a way to, so kids can see, like, am I doing something? Am I not doing something? Because kids often, how many times do y'all have kids like right before report cards come out, they're like, wait, what? I'm not missing that. I handed that in. And then they find it at the bottom of their book bag. So having something up that shows is a homework tracker for the quarter or for the week, or whatever it is, you're publicly tracking. You're not putting grades up, but I just do like a sticker, half a sticker, or no sticker, so kids can see where they're at, so they have a good sense of reminding them, right? It's the same reason I use habit tracker apps for myself. So that's part of it. The other thing is this. There is someone, Paris, that is finding success in your school with the same group of students, or has in the past. It's just happening. There are other teachers in the world that have students very similar to, or that are even more challenging than your students. The differentiating factor is the ability of the teacher. And I don't say that remotely to make you feel bad about yourself. I wouldn't even begin to go there. What I heard the other day, I put this on Instagram. I saw this dude talking about it, where he said, and I've heard people say this before, but somehow, for some reason, this hit different. It really hit home the other day. They said that they were taught that you need to be a thermostat and not a thermometer. And the more often we can do that, the better off we are. And so is everyone else. So when let's say you and your spouse are in the room together, and one of you's in a really good mood and one of you's in a bad mood. One of you is changing. We don't ever go through the day. We certainly don't go through the day where one of us is in a good mood and one's in a bad mood, and we either one's coming down or the other one's coming up, right? It's never like we're just like cohabitating the same space and being in these two wildly different moods. I don't know why, but it just never happens. So if you're a thermostat, you control the temperature. If you as a teacher are a thermostat, you control the temperature. If you are a thermometer, you are letting them dictate how you can teach today. And so there's a lot of ways that you can do to kind of get better with that, right? Maybe, but some of them seem so simple that they are often, I think people overlook them, right? Like getting a full night's sleep for a week in a row changes who you are. I know today I was having this moment, and I won't even get into why, because it's not really even important, but I'll tell you just so there's a sense of context, and it's not like this mystery. We have gone so we're church hopping here in New Mexico, and we went to the same church for 2 weeks in a row. Had high hopes that I was just like, oh, this looks like a cool place. Like, people seem nice and stuff. Let me tell you, no one talked to us. Nobody, like, the pastor saw me 2 weeks in a row. People look around and see us because we're clearly the new family of four standing in the back. And we didn't even sit in the back. We sat like towards the front because I'm looking to meet people. I'm looking to build community. No one said anything to us, right? And so I came home, and then that started down like a spiral of like aggravation about different things. And I immediately knew that this doesn't stay. That if I can, I need to go on a walk. Sunday teacher talk is always great for me. For some reason, y'all don't even know that, but it is. It's if I go for a walk, if I spend a little bit of time outside, if I take a nap, like there's certain things I can do that I just know myself, they're going to make me feel better. Then I'm going to deal with my issue with that differently. Because I immediately want to send the pastor an email, be like yo, I'm not, like, here's the problem. So with that, it is like things like getting a good night's sleep, things like, I hate to say it, but exercise, things like growing in your abilities, right? So like picking up a book on teaching, something that's going to get you excited, right? Not just something that's going to make you feel like you don't do enough. So like, I guarantee you, y'all, if you haven't read Dave Burgess's book, Teach Like a Pirate, you just feel like you want to take over the world after you get done reading that book. If you like do like whether you go to therapy, whether you go to some kind of self-improvement seminar, right? The New Year's coming up, there's all kinds of stuff popping up on like sign up for these challenges and stuff. You're worth the money. Take the money, invest it in yourself, and get yourself a coach, a mentor, join a class, join a course. These are things that make us feel better instead of waiting for our kids to get better. We get better so then I can handle this. And that doesn't just mean I'm great and the kids can still be subpar or be aggravating. No, the kids will not be like that anymore. But it's some of those things. It's remembering that there are things that if we choose to walk confidently in the direction of what we are called to do, and we start looking for answers, sometimes outside of education, right? Like therapy, it is we are getting better and then we can do better work. So you can do, Paris, I know you can do it. And that's why like I really harp on these sorts of things. And look, because here's how I know you can do it and that you want to do it. Because it is a Sunday afternoon, 2 weeks from Christmas. And you are a small part of a small group of individuals that is on a live right now to ask your question. Like not everyone else does that, right? It's like it sets you apart. And so the next step of that is so you identify the issue is like, and this asking the question and being willing to get this answer for all of y'all is part of that step. But then it's what's next and what's next and what's next until I am unstoppable. So that would be my advice.
That's pretty powerful.
And I'm like Pastor Reynolds like, up here today. It's because of my poor time at church today that I'm just like,
it's just coming out of me.
Amen. Let's go. What's the next one? Brody said he liked that church today because no one raised their hands when they were singing. That makes him feel really uncomfortable.
Isn't that funny?
I say you should just give him high fives.
I love raising my hands. I just
thought that
was couldn't sing.
That was one of his loud whispers today when he was.
He does whisper so loud, doesn't he?
Dad, felt so much better. No one was raising their hands.
He's hilarious. Okay, Aaron's asking, how do you provide rewards / consequences that are not given to the class as a whole? I have one class that has about 10 students who are constantly requiring more attention / management. It's one of the classes it's one class and I'm tired of having to change what I'm doing because if you can't handle it.
So Aaron, I think we're talking about the idea that everyone else in that class can handle it, but those 10 kids can't. And then it seems to ruin it for the other students. I have zero issue with loving on kids, affirming kids, giving out incentives, prizes, things to students that are doing a great job, even if that means that the 10 that are causing the problem are going to go, wait a minute, why didn't but I did this. How come I don't get a sticker? How come I don't get, and I give out weird stuff sometimes. Like one time I had a kid in the class. I had a class that was so bad and I had one student every single day that was great. And I was like, I pulled him aside. I said, his name was Greg. Greg, listen, man, you're like, I just want you to know that this class is uncommon. You are in here with kids that are deeply disruptive and it wasn't even with me. They just bickered it was like a bunch of kids that just didn't like one another. And it was really difficult to build community in there. And I'll tell you what, we did get there by the I'd say even the last third of the year, which is still a celebration sometimes, people, because it's like, man, I can do it. I just got to quicken it up next time. So we got there, but for Greg, I just thought Greg was doing such a great job. I just put it out there. One week I made Greg popcorn. This week, Greg, do you like popcorn? Oh yeah, I love popcorn, Mr. Reynolds. Anytime this week you want popcorn, you just let me know. I'm going to hook it up. How? Don't you even worry about it. So I had a teaching assistant. I had Joe in the back of the room. Teaching assistants were like students that were juniors or seniors that opted out of a study hall, and then they would come and help a teacher with grading and all kinds of different stuff. So Joe's chilling in the back of the room. We're working on something. Anyone have any questions? Greg's hand goes up, right? He's going to test me. Yeah, Greg, what's up? Reynolds, can I have some popcorn? Greg, you got it. Joe, hit it. Joe goes down to the office. He has microwave popcorn. I have like this like cool bowl and stuff like that. Brings it down. The deal is Greg's not allowed to share it with anyone. So then Greg just posts up in the back of my room. I had this nice upholstered chair, and he just eats popcorn. Well, now all the other kids are like, everyone gets hungry. Everyone wants popcorn. I'm like, bro, look, you got it. Like, my man Greg shows up. He comes to school every day. He's doing his work. He's an active participant. He asks questions. Like, he makes class better because he's here. Like, I'll make popcorn for everybody, but y'all got to get this in line. And I will say that made other kids get it together a little bit more, just because they wanted that. It wasn't even the popcorn. It was saying, Reynolds, I'd like some popcorn. And then bam, handled it, right? I've had cereal parties for individual students where I have those small boxes of cereal, bring in some milk, they pour it right into the box, or I have like a bowl right there. And sometimes I would put like a candle because you gotta be extra. And I'd have like personal cereal parties in the back of the room for kids giving kids stickers, calling kids back at the end of the day and saying, listen, y'all, I know today got a little bit nuts. I just want you to know that even though I don't get to interact with you as much as I would like y'all you make my day better. And I love that you're in class, and I love that you're here. You could do that with notes. I've written letters to students. I've called students' homes. It is about loving on those kids so that they know that even in the midst of the madness, that you deeply that their good efforts are not lost on you, and that you see them as they make your day better, and that you're noticing their hard work. Inviting kids in during lunch, and I just grab a dozen donuts from the local donut shop and find out everyone's favorite donut and do donuts there, do a full cereal party there, buy pizza for kids. And so the other kids will find out about this, but this is not exclusive. I want to invite as many people into this as humanly possible. And so I do that, and it just works. It had a great effect, kept kids motivated that were doing the right thing, and sometimes motivated kids that weren't doing the right thing to do the right thing. But yeah, so that's how we get down.
Food motivates.
Especially teenage boys. I mean, come on, man.
I think most kids, right? Most people are motivated by food. Okay. KP is up next asking, I work at a Title I school with chronic attendance issues. How can I support students who only come to class once a week to feel included academically and socially when they miss so much?
This is a great question. It's frustrating. I think part of the issue, KP, is that it's so deeply frustrating because when students aren't coming to school, then they require so much more time, because school's not just the work, right? It's not like you could just, we saw this during COVID, right? Where teachers thought or got to the point where they were just giving kids work, kids were handing work back in. School is about the participatory aspect of it, right? It's about being challenged in real time. It's about engaging and working on things together in collaboration and being a part of this process, not just handing back in a worksheet, right? That's the culmination a lot of times, is the assessment, whether that be a worksheet or a test or a quiz or a project. That is the culmination of all this stuff that we've been doing. So when you're not in school, you're not just missing work, you're missing the experience of education. And so sometimes it's having those conversations with kids. It's like getting them fired up about being here and what they're missing out on. And when we can't do that, sometimes it feels like there's very little for us to do, because now they show up and they haven't been here for a week, and now I gotta catch you up? And then that's difficult for students, because they are not, they don't feel a part of things. Like, they come in and there's jokes they don't understand, there's concepts they don't understand, there's references to the short 30-second Pixar clip that you showed last week, or that quick experiment that we did, or that math project that we went out to the parking lot and did. Now I'm talking about it and they're like, wait, what? We went outside. Like, what even happened? I don't even know what y'all are talking about. And so that is some of the issue. I say it goes deeper. I say this is an administrative issue first, that we need to find ways that we're going to hold kids accountable to get them to come to school. That's going to be where it starts. Because again, it can't just be intrinsic, right? Like it's hard to get kids to go there. But extrinsic, if I hold you accountable, at least get you in the building, right? Then I can build a relationship with you. I can't even build a relationship with you if you're not in school. It's then pouring into those students, holding them accountable, letting them see like that here's like all you got to do is this, this, and this, and your grade can go up. Or, you know, it's gamifying it sometimes so that kids see that the showing up to school, the doing the work it's not so hard. It is, I think, sometimes holding parents accountable for when their students are not coming to school. You know, some parents have a lot going on and they leave before school starts and then kids don't go to school and mom or grandmom or dad don't know until it's too late. And so it's really holding that level accountable as well. I would say for me, it has always been when this happened in my school, especially post-COVID, and with like our fourth new principal that had no idea what they were doing or how to handle this, our team devised a plan where we were communicating with parents every day. We were letting parents know so what we did was we divided up our 9th grade so that I had a handful of kids that I was contacting every day if they weren't there. I was contacting with parents if they needed something with their grades. If a parent needed something from the school and didn't know when the dance was, when the thing started on Friday, when grades were coming out, I was their point person, right? And realize not every school can do this, but this is how we did it. Now I'm contacting those handful of parents every single day or week. And I am their contact person. I want to make it known to that student that when you miss school, you have to put in more work, right? Like you can't miss the gym one day a week and think you're still going to get the same results. You now have to find another day or more time or make those 2 days you're going to the gym longer to get that work back, right? To get those results back. But I try to make that attractive. I don't try and make them feel bad about it, right? That doesn't motivate guilting someone doesn't motivate anyone. Not in the long term anyway, and not in a healthy way. So it is making opportunities after school. Yo, my classroom's a party every day after school, right? And it's kids just hanging out. It's kids learning together. It's kids getting tutored. It's kids getting help on stuff. There's other teachers in my room. It is the spot to be after school, right? So I have all these different teachers and all these different kids, and we're in the room and we're doing work, but that makes it a place kids want to be anyway. So come in after school and I'm going to help you learn how to do this in 5 minutes. I want you out of my class. I don't want you to stay here longer than 10 minutes today because I want to lower the bar so that kids will actually show up. The more you pour in the kids, the more they feel seen, heard, valued, cared for, a part of the community, right? I went to high school because I liked my friends, not for school. I hated school. I liked my friends, but that was my driver. And I know that I've had students in a lot of those old videos that I have on YouTube. Those kids came to school because of each other, not because of school, but whatever it takes for me to get you in the door, because then that's when education can start. And so I'll do anything. I'll bother your parents. I'll bother you. I will help you find friends. I will make things fun. I'll give out candy after school, whatever I have to do to get you in the building, because now if I can get to the gym, the chances that I'm going to work out go up exponentially. When I'm sitting on my couch, they're really low. It's just getting my butt to the gym, right? And so that's what I'm trying to do for kids and build into them. But I would push admin to like, we need to figure something out. We need to figure something out. We need to figure something out. And then go to them with solutions, go to them with ideas. But I would be relentless about that and I'm talking about all levels of administration. What are we doing? Because kids are failing and we are failing kids. What are we doing to get students in the building? These are very long answers today.
That's all right.
Thank you.
Stone is up next asking, I'm actually not sure if this is a question, but maybe you could
First of
speak
all,
to this.
can we just stop a second?
Yes.
That's a great name.
Stone.
Yes, that's an awesome name. Anyway.
Is commenting and saying, I student taught 9th, 10th, 12th this spring, and I took my first job.
That's a lot.
Yeah. Well, student taught.
Yeah.
It's still a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not a teacher. And I took my first job out of state as a 6th grade teacher. I'm conflicted whether I should move to high school. I love my school and admin, but the maturity levels hurt.
So that's the thing. I'll say if you love your school and admin, there's a number of people I'm sure in here in the chat right now that are going, that's worth staying. To me, Stone, it was always about at what age did I need, two questions. What age did I need me the most? So this Reynolds, how old am I? 47? 47-year-old Reynolds. I like that I check with you because, after 45, you're just like basically waiting for 50. It's like, the no man's land of 40s. So I am, at what age did I need this version of me as a teacher? That helped me go to 9th grade. In 9th grade, I felt invisible. I didn't talk to anyone the whole year. I got bullied all the time. I felt worthless. And it was I never really, really flirted with suicide, but I do remember walking to school and just thinking like, you could just walk in front of a bus. Like the idea of that entered my brain. I don't ever want a student to even think that, to feel that way, to feel like no one cares about them, to feel like there's a bully and there's nothing they can do about it, to feel like their voice doesn't matter, to feel like they don't have anyone to talk to smile with, to laugh with all day. I work my ass off to make sure that, sorry. Did you just look at me for saying that?
I did.
I work diligently to help young people find connection and meaning in the school. Like, that's why we're here. Like, if I don't have that, then what are we doing? Just learning English? But some of that stems from what I needed. The other thing is, where do my unique abilities lie? So I knew that I could teach elementary. Sometimes wonder what that would have been like. But I liked that higher level thinking. I liked that 9th grade year specifically because it was coming out of childhood and entering into adulthood. And it was that sweet spot where there was still some goofiness, but you're still asking higher level questions. That it was like right there. And I know a lot of people that, like, I think I got to teach 9th grade for my whole career because nobody else wanted to do it. They were like, dude, get the hell out of here. 10th grade is a little bit more mature. 12th is a lot more mature. 11th grade is incredibly meaningful because you have all these things that, like, if you don't do them, it's like SATs and all that stuff are happening. Nobody wanted to teach 9th grade, but I knew that was where I belonged. So I think it's asking yourself those two questions, and not just like, if you can grow into 6th grade, you could become the teacher that could have that class and have the maturity. But at the same time, those kids are on some different type time because of their developmental level. So, yeah, but I'll tell you what, for me, Stone, if I don't feel that intuition that this is where I belong, I've never done anything with that, not for a hot second. And I've gotten offered jobs at some really, really sweet schools that are doing great work, filled with great teachers. I just didn't feel it. I talk about this in my book. The school in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, had that looked the nicest aquarium I've ever seen, which was, anyway, that's part of the story in the book. But it is intuitively, do I feel like this is where I belong? Is this my assignment? And if I don't, then I keep looking for what else.
I wonder if you can stay in the same building, if it's like you can stay with the same admin and school, but teach like 8th grade. Usually middle schools go to 8th grade.
Yeah, and look, every year is a huge developmental shift, right? So 6th grade
so 8th grade, you might get more of the maturity that you're looking for.
Yeah. There's 8th grade teachers going, no. No,
Well,
but
in comparison to sixth grade,
facts,
this is
yeah.
what I'm talking about, not
That's a good
high
point.
school.
And sometimes we can't get what we want until we put in the time, right? When you're brand new, you might have to put in some time doing some grades or some work or teaching, doing some stuff that you like isn't your optimal, but you got to put in that time, show your worth, your capacity level, show stuff, right? And then you can get there. Yeah. Unless, it's, the problem is too, is like sometimes you'll have like at where I was at Boys Latin, nobody was getting ninth grade. No, they've had other ninth grade teachers they've hired and split us, but I've been asked a bunch of times, but no one was taking my classroom and no one was taking my class. And because when you build a tree in your classroom, that's what happens.
Because they don't want to move you.
I often told kids, they're like, why'd you build that tree? I'm like, because they'll never move my classroom now. You think they want me dragging that thing upstairs?
And nobody wants to be asked to help with it.
No.
All right, John is up next, asking, due to things out of my control, I've been out of school for a total of 3 weeks throughout the semester. Students did not keep up with their work, so we were about 5 weeks behind. How can I get through my curriculum in a thorough yet expedited manner?
So I would say, Dawn, that it's a couple of things. One, realizing that you're not going to have the results that maybe you've had in previous years because you were out of school. And that's all right. Right? Like life happens and we're going to make the best out of this situation. You're going to show up and make the best out of this situation, but it's making the best. And making the best means it's not what you typically have. And I think really this sounds like no duh, but it's having peace with that. And I'm going to say this is audacious of me.
Wait, let me just interject. She says that we are reading a novel and my school has a strict curriculum map. And
so your school's going to have to bend with that. And as if you needed it, I'm giving you permission to give yourself grace with that, because how can you fall behind 3.5 weeks? And then unless, because here's the only way that can happen is the burden falls on the students. So now instead of 20 pages a night, we were like, all right, gang, we got to catch up. We got 50 pages to read a night. Then no one's going to do that, right? Students didn't do anything wrong. If they didn't have someone there to coach them through that 3.5 weeks.
No, they did. They didn't do the work, she said in her previous
comment. Yeah, but that's because kids don't do work like that. Like,
okay,
right? Like my students wouldn't do that either. But the sub should have, like, if the school knew that someone was going to be out for that long, the school should have put someone in charge that was teaching kids. They weren't just, even if you're playing an audiobook every day and handing out the worksheet or something, right? Like there's some level of competency there that they could have had. And look, I don't know all the intricacies. So maybe they didn't know, like maybe you were out a little bit and then it was turned into a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. And your school was doing the best they can. That's possible too. But I would say that, so for instance, I just think about like when I'm reading, I'm trying to get through Romeo and Juliet in 5 weeks with all my 9th grade students. And I have 1 or 2 classes that fall behind because they're really struggling, because they really don't understand it, that they just need someone to reiterate so much that every day has to be a review because you forget what we read yesterday because of processing issues and things of that nature. I just started cutting parts out. And I know that that's blasphemous to a lot of literature teachers. I did the same thing with the Odyssey. I've done the same thing with Fahrenheit 451. I've done the same thing with a lot of books that I've read, because it is not the book that I'm teaching, right? I'm teaching the concepts. The book is a vehicle for me to teach all kinds of other things, to talk about language, to talk about writing ability, to talk about vocabulary, to talk about literary devices. There's all these things that are wrapped up in this. The book is just the vehicle for me to get there. And although I honor the writing and I honor that, like, Ray Bradbury wrote a great book. Fahrenheit 451 is a great book. In my opinion, though, there's parts we can leave out, right? Like we can get there. It's like when they used to alter movies, for those of you that are old enough, and they'd say like, they put a movie on a Friday night and they'd omit scenes because they needed it to fit into the 2 hours, right? Because of commercial breaks. So then you're watching and you're like, wait, what happened to the part where Marty McFly was doing this? Like, what happened to that? They omitted it. And so I think that it is editing things down. Sometimes I will tell kids what happened. All right, listen, because we were out, I really want to get to the end of this book. I don't want it to last longer than it is, because then it's going to lose its fire. And I want to get on to the next thing because I want to build momentum. This chapter was basically this. I'm going to outline it for you. So then we go into chapter 3, knowing exactly what happened, and then moving along with our lives. Sometimes it's showing a bit of a movie, or if there's an animated piece of this book just for a chapter or two, so kids understand what's going on, so that I can catch up to where I need to be. But because I do not want that burden to fall on the student. So that's kind of how I've done it in the past. And to great success.
All right, we're going to take our last question. It's from Laura, and it's a 4-parter. So
I saw Sojung was in here too.
she was.
Good work. How are you? I haven't seen you in a while.
So Laura is asking, I poked the bear last week when I asked admin for clarification on how our district is handling the holidays. One school in the district has a Christmas tree in the lobby.
Ooh.
The other is holding door decorating contests. Meanwhile, the school with the youngest population is being told to do nothing related to the holidays unless it is something that we would have done any time of year.
This is a different question, and I love it. Keep going.
Nothing in our effort to be inclusive. I feel we may be going the opposite direction. I'm heartbroken for my class, who, after a parent survey, indicated that all of them celebrate the holidays. Thoughts on how to move forward with my frustration during a season of joy?
So, Laura, I would say, so there's a couple things here. One, good for you for going to administration. And this is something that I think needs to be pushed, because it does need to become something that is, this isn't like, it just feels so good to walk into a school that's getting ready to celebrate the season. And I'm not interested in pushing anyone's religious beliefs on the school, even though, I mean, like, we can get into that, but like, what I'm thinking about is, like, there is, whether it's Christmas or Hanukkah, I don't know why I was going to mess that word up, or Kwanzaa, or if it's a time of the year when, like, with whatever is happening, right? It is a time, it is a season of joy, or it's meant to be. So how can we as a school rethink these times of the year and help like celebrate this with kids, right? Like I'm really fascinated for anyone that doesn't want to do that, doesn't think that's a good idea. And to be honest, I think that it's something that, like, when I often talked about going to administration and asking for advice, asking for them to help things. But I do think it's equally as important, if not more important, to go to administration with ideas of how we can do this, because I realize that administrators, many of which I've been friends with, especially in my own schools, have more than they can handle on their plate. And whether or not we're putting up a Christmas tree up or not is, like, they don't have the capacity to, like, they can just sit back and, like, figure that one out, right? So teachers coming together and figuring something out that is a good plan is oftentimes something that helps administrators to just say yes, because I didn't have to do this, and thank you all for doing this. So I think about continuing to push that, especially when there's this inequity in that, like, other schools are doing it in your district and you're not. But I do think it's something that should encompass all of your student population and not just a minority of your student population. So we're not just putting up a Christmas tree, but if we're doing that, do we have other aspects that reflect other students, that make them feel seen and cared for and thought of as well? The other piece is, if we're thinking season of joy, I would just do things that were joyful. In this season of joy, similar, I created a video a few weeks ago, right before Thanksgiving break, that talked about, like, how your students can write these really simple letters to other teachers to show their thanks, or not even just teachers, it was to staff members in the school. How could we do a celebration? Could we do a class party? Could we do, there's all kinds of stuff that we can do to celebrate, to have that season of joy without labeling it a Hanukkah party, a Christmas party, a Kwanzaa party. But if we're not allowed to do this, they can't stop my joy. They can't stop my joy. So I'm going to come into school doing stuff that is joyful at this time of the year. And here's the other reason for doing that I think is super important, Laura, because, and I talked about this in that video also, not all kids are set up. This isn't a season of joy for everyone. There's a reason we have canned food drives. And it's not like just so kids can give. It's because some kids need to get. There's a reason that we do toy drives, because some of the students in your class need that. Without that, they're not getting a present, or they're living in a group home, or they're in foster care this year, or they just lost a parent, or their parents just like are a hot mess, and home is not a very joyful place this time of year, right? There's all kinds of reasons. So in that, I know that as schools we can't solve every single problem, and we shouldn't even try. But these are huge moments where you can, at least in your classroom at this time of the year, or at your school, is a place kids can tap into that holiday feeling, that holiday season of joy, of love, of giving, of caring. We are creating these opportunities and sprinkling magic in our schools and on our students to help them be a part of something. I just think that is, why wouldn't we want to do that, right? So that's where I'm at with that.
I think one of the things she said in the comments was it's kind of whatever their district rule is okay. I think the difficulty is that every school is doing different, or doing their own thing instead of abiding by the rule. I find that to be really difficult when you are the rule follower and nobody else is. And it feels like, well, then you're getting penalized for even following the rules, because you don't get to participate in these things that you would like to.
And that's really important, because
then I end up just being a rule breaker.
Because I would be a rule breaker.
I would too.
Right. Like, and I always I'd just be like, that's so dumb. We're just going to do it anyway.
Now I would,
but I realized that I say those things, but I have to realize that not everyone else is there.
Yeah.
Right. That not everyone else is going to do that. But yeah, and that's going to take me into a whole nother.
Well, I was just going to say, because to me, that's like, we do that for the Christmas season, right? And I understand why, because not everybody does Christmas, but we certainly still celebrate Valentine's Day, St. Patrick's Day, Halloween. Not everybody celebrates those either. So it's so nuanced and such a gray.
But every single holiday, which is why I never really talked about this, but we used to have small, sometimes we'd have Groundhog's Day celebrations, because I just think it's the most absurd holiday, and I love it because it's so ridiculous. But I think every holiday or occasion, it just gives a chance to make something awesome.
Well, like you said, it gives a chance for joy, for caring, loving, giving, like all of these selfless kind of acts. If you can like focus on those, I think that's.
But in these huge cultural ones, it's like, dude, why aren't we just doing this? We should just be doing this. So anyway, Laura, I'd love to know what happens with that. And for anyone on here, look, I don't say this enough. If you ever get an answer on here and it works or doesn't work out, you can feel free to email us. I'd love to know, or drop it in the Facebook group and let us know. We want to know the backside of this story, right? Like, it's like, what happened next? I would love to know that. If you're not part of our Facebook group, you really should consider going in there. It's Real Rap with Reynolds Teacher Talk at Facebook. It's a great place, filled with just educators. No one's selling you anything, and if they are, then
we really try and keep that.
We handle it. Wow, we really got out of focus. And look, if you're interested, my book is for sale. If you know a teacher that could use it, right? Like, I'm not just pushing this to make money, but like, if you know someone that needs this book, it's on sale right now for $17.95 on Amazon. Ooh. And it's just a great, give people the gift that keeps on giving. So yeah, but it is my pride and joy, that book. Yeah. Anything else?
No, I think that's it.
Gang, we will see you again next week. I think it's the last time before Christmas Eve. Is it?
I think so.
Maybe. If you need anything before then, you can hit up right up at realrapwithreynolds.com, or just shoot me an email. I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful week. We'll see you next week. Peace.